What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another About Teams video. If you're liking this content, please make sure to like and subscribe and check out our website at aboutteams.com, where we dive more deeply with articles into the NFL, specifically right now, but we hope to get articles for basketball soon and all the other sports that we hope to be covering and will be covering this summer, as we're excited to announce that we'll be going full-time with videos, daily uploads, 5 days a week. Just to gain more, put our knowledge out there and our thoughts. And with that being said, today's topic, we're just gonna dive into the NBA playoffs so far, because I've gotten the pleasure of watching a lot of this basketball, and it's been great to watch. We've gotten some good basketball, some bad basketball, but it's been exciting overall. And kind of take a look back at my picks and everything. So with that being said, let's dive into the first series I kind of want to talk about, which is the Boston Celtics versus Miami Heat. As a guy still live in Massachusetts, growing up in the Boston area, I know a lot of Celtics fans, and they have a lot of expectations, and for good reason this year. Best record in the league, and they've shown it throughout the season. But the questions for them are these playoffs. And the first one is the Miami Heat, a team that's kind of had their number, defeated them 2 times in the Eastern Conference Finals. One time the Celtics did win. That's when they lost to the Warriors. But with that being said, they've, pretty much, they're up 3-1 now, commanding win last night, and they just stopped Miami's offense at all times. We saw that one game where Miami shot, it was like almost 60% from field, a career high makes for the Heat in 3-pointers in a game. And you may have thought, well, we could get a series splitting 1-1 in Boston's very impressive, but that proved kind of to be an anomaly, I think. I think the Celtics wrapped the series up pretty quickly. They've gone consistent production throughout the starting 5. Derek White showed up huge last night. Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, they've been doing their thing. And it's been great to see. Kristaps was injured yesterday, which is something to keep an eye out, but he should be good. But yeah, I'd say Miami Heat, I think we'll talk about them this offseason because they're an interesting team. Obviously, they've been really competitive, haven't won a championship yet in the Jimmy Butler era, but Jimmy Butler's getting up there in age. He's going to be 35. And last year, even though they made the finals, they were barely made it as the 8th seed. Felt like kind of a fluke. I mean, Jimmy Butler's proven in the playoffs he can do it, but they clearly needed him in this series. They just haven't been able. Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, Caleb Martin, guys, especially Caleb Martin, who was a killer last year against the Celtics, just hasn't been the same. And, Boston should move on to the next series. They were the better team. And the Heat, it'll be an interesting offseason for us to evaluate them, because there's kind of where do they go from here direction. So yeah, congrats to Boston, because they most likely will win the series, and we'll do a recap when that game is over. But yeah, so then let's dive into the next series, which is Knicks 76ers. And man, I picked Philly in the upset, and I think what lost them this series, because I think Knicks up 3-1. I think Philly can maybe force a game 6, but I think it's pretty much over here. Embiid wasn't participating in shoot-around today, neither Oubre, so it will be interesting to see if they even play tonight. I think they might try and give it a go since their season's online, but the Knicks have just been better in the clutch, and that's really what's defined this game 1. Sixers were leading for a good part of the game, but the Knicks just got from three-pointer. That's when Deuce McBride went off, and boy, has he been saying for them this playoffs, and just been a catalyst throughout the regular season once they were dealing with all those injuries with OG Anunoby, just to keep them afloat and obviously be a 2 seed, because I underestimated the Knicks. Jalen Brunson, bad first couple games from the field, but these last 2 games, and that I think it was, like 47 points in game 4 to give the Knicks the 3-1 lead is huge. Embiid had 50 to maybe give the Sixers hope in game 3 to cut the series to 2-1, but what really lost the Knicks 76 to the series was games 2 at the end. You're up, I believe it was 6 points, and with like 40 seconds to go, Jalen Brunson hits a 3 with like 20 seconds to go. It's no big deal. But then they lose the ball on a questionable foul call on Tyrese Maxey, or non-foul call, I should say. And Knicks steal it, miss, but then get the offensive rebound, hit it. They get a stop on Tyrese Maxey with a block and win the game. That just simply cannot happen in the playoffs, because if you're feeling pretty good at splitting 1-1 in New York, and in game 4, chance to tie it up 2-2. They just go cold. what's his name? Precious Achua stepped into the game, did a good job continuing to be that fourth. And Embiid has been great throughout this playoffs up until the fourth quarter, which is the most important quarter, and he struggled from the field. And I think part of the reason is injuries just slowing him down late in these games. And Philly really could be up 3-1 at least. Not going to say they could have swept the Knicks, but if they didn't do these self-inflicted wounds, they could be up 3-1, but the Knicks have just simply been the better team at the end, and Jalen Brunson showed he was the best player on that court last game. So a huge shout out to him. I think the Knicks close out in 5 in what should be, I believe, a path for them easily to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. And they'll probably be playing the Boston Celtics in that case scenario. So, yeah, but will be interesting tonight. Good game. Should be a good game. Sixers, season's on the line. Give it your best punch. See what you can do. Next series we'll get into is the Cleveland Cavaliers versus the Orlando Magic. We'll stay on the Eastern Conference side, and I guess do all Eastern Conference teams and then the Western Conference teams. And for the Cleveland Cavaliers Magic series, this has been a tale of like 2 seasons basically all in one. Cavaliers first 2 games up Tuesday. I was feeling really good about my prediction. I believe I picked Cavs in like 6. Up Tuesday, they look great. Defense, they were clamping the Magic. Magic couldn't buy a shot. Cleveland's offense didn't look great, but Evan Mobley in game 1 stepped up huge, making some threes. And they simply just looked like the better team. And I thought, the Cavaliers, there's been a lot of rumors about Donovan Mitchell, this 2-pair with him and Garland not working, this Cavs roster just not fitting Mobley and Jared Allen. And I think last year in the regular season, they proved it could, but then they got smoked by the Knicks in 5, so I think they wanted to at least play Boston. If you lose to Boston, that's understandable, but at least make it there, because this Magic squad's just overachieved the whole year, and you just want to show that like experience matters. Donovan Mitchell's playing the playoffs like almost every year since he's been in the league. The Cavaliers have some playoff experience now, at least play-in and last year's playoffs for Evan Mobley and Darius Garland. But boy, have they just Magic next 2 games look great on offense. Cavaliers, I think they scored like 83 points in both games. They were up 2 in game 4 was a chance to go up 3-1, send it back to Cleveland, feel good. But Magic went on like a 25-5 run and just blew them out. The Cavaliers had no answers in that third quarter. I think they scored like 10 points in that quarter alone in the game with like 80-something points. And the Magic's offense has looked much better in those games. Franz Wagner has come alive, just shooting the 3-ball really well, getting to the rim, doing everything he needs to do. Paulo Banchero's been up and down. But, you expect that from this Magic team. They've overachieved the whole year. Jamal Mosley made a great adjustment, putting Jonathan Isaac on the bench to provide that defense off the bench and some shooting. And that has really flipped the series and just home court. And I think tonight will be a huge call for the Cavaliers, because if they lose this game, I don't think they're winning the series. But I think if they can defend home court, prove the more at least experienced team, I think the more talented team right now, because of all the pieces you have in their prime, like Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland in there. But only time will tell tonight. Should be a great game to watch. It's been a really defensive series, especially in game 1. I think the score was like 97-82 or something. And it'll be great to watch. Can the Magic continue this ride streak, or can JB Bickerstaff and this team just fight? Because if they lose the series, I think Evan Mobley's on the block to get traded. Same with Darius Garland, and Donovan Mitchell might just ask out. And there's been speculation about that all. So we'll see what happens tonight. It's been a very up and down, but great for the Magic, man. They're playing house money right now. No one has no expectations. They're one of the youngest teams, brightest futures, and they're playing great. And maybe my prediction still stands Cavs in 6, but they need to show me something tonight if I want to believe in them, because even though it's tied 2-2, I feel much better about the Magic right now than I do the Cavaliers. With that being said, the final series is the Milwaukee Bucks and the Indiana Pacers in the Eastern Conference. I believe I picked Milwaukee to win this game in like 6 or 7, depending on Giannis's injury. But Giannis hasn't played through 4 games, and that's cost Milwaukee big time. We saw game 1, Damian Lillard show up. Bucks were up by like 30 and a half. It was embarrassing for the Pacers, and I thought the series was over. I thought Giannis would come back. Dame looking like himself, and he did have a good game too, but the Pacers have been great. Siakam has stepped up huge in his playoffs. Miles Turner's done his thing, and the Pacers have won 3 in a row. Clutch overtime shooting, that game 3, Chris Middleton going back and forth. But the Pacers, Tyrese Halliburton, that floater at the end to win it. Beautiful and one opportunity to give the Pacers the win there. And Indiana defended home court. It's back in Milwaukee tonight for Game 5. And Giannis, I'm not sure if he's going to play or not, but boy, I know, you can give Milwaukee the excuse. Giannis injured, Damian Lillard missing Game 4, but it's been a rough series for them. This Indiana squad, one of the best offenses in the league. I think age is playing a huge factor here. Milwaukee, one of the oldest teams. Indiana, one of the youngest teams. They just seem faster on the court, and they are playing with all their hearts out. Just simply looked like the better team since Game 1, like the first half, because Indiana low-key looked better the second half and made it like an interesting somewhat game. I think it got closer to like 12 points, 10 points. But Damian Lillard had that 35-point game in the first half alone. I don't even think he scored in the second half, but they didn't need him to. It looked like the series would be over even without Giannis. But Milwaukee has some questions to answer this offseason, because when you make a trade for a superstar like Damian Lillard, and Giannis wants to win now, and he underperformed in the regular season, still a top 3 seed in the East, but not really impressed, considering the East, the second seed didn't even win 50 games when like the 6th seed in the West won almost 50 games. So it was really, it's really going to be interesting if Milwaukee, do you run it back? Another age of Chris Middleton getting older, another age of Brook Lopez getting older, another age of Giannis. I mean, he's still in his prime, but he wants to win now. Another age of Dame, though, who's going to be 34, and we saw a huge regression from him this season in some aspects. He's still, Damian Lillard, we've seen it in the playoffs too. He can perform at a high level, but another age of him getting older. If you're Milwaukee, you won your championship back in 2020. You've had a couple missed opportunities ever since that 2018 season with Mike Budenholzer. You at least can say you won one, but I don't see how this team gets back there with this score, because they're just too old. And Indiana's explained that the series. Maybe Milwaukee can win tonight and make this series interesting again, but we'll see what happens, who plays, who doesn't. Indiana, just great to see for this team. They've been scrappy all year, like I said before, number 1 offense. But it'll be a fun game to watch for sure. Milwaukee, I mean, hopefully the fans make this. Let's at least get one Game 7 somewhere in this playoffs. One series that won't be going 7 though. Oklahoma City, New Orleans. OKC, a lot of question marks as a 1 seed. I believe I had this series going 6, and after Game 1, I was feeling pretty good because the Thunder really struggled. The Pelicans played them tough. Herb Jones on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander I thought would provide some problems, but Shai came up clutch down the end of that game. But it was still a 2-point win. Yeah, I believe, 94-92 win. And the Thunder, home court advantage. But games 2 and 3 were huge blowouts. The Thunder, just the better team all around. Jalen Williams doing his thing. Isaiah Joe, Cason Wallace, Lou Dort playing great defense on Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram, CJ McCollum, no shows this series. With Zion Williamson out, you needed them to show up to even have a chance, and it was a shame. They didn't even show up one game. Last night, season on the line, you put up 89 points. That's not going to do it. And defense played tough. They played OKC. They held them under 100 twice, but Oklahoma City is a two-way team. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, one of the best two-way guards in the league. Huge steals machine, does play great defense and consistent throughout. And this Oklahoma City team, for such a young team at age, Mark Daigneault, Coach of the Year, well-deserved. For such a young team, they're so mature. They just know how to, in the crunch time, just give it to your best player, make the right plays, and it's really amazing what they're doing. A lot of people call them a fraud 1 seed because just of their age, but this is a really well-balanced team off the bench, starting lineup, Chet Holmgren. You got playmakers everywhere, and this team is a really good team, and it'll be interesting to see who they play in the next series between the Clippers Mavericks, who we'll talk about next. But Oklahoma City, man, get the brooms out. Nice little sweep for you guys. Future's only up for here. I assume with all the first-round picks they have, they trade for a superstar because they should. They're one of the teams on the up, and they can go all in, and they deserve to because but you want to be smart about it. You don't want to, trade away someone like Jalen Williams for a superstar, because Jalen Williams has been so good for this team and is only 22 years old in the second year. One of the most improved players in my eyes. Could have won most improved, but obviously Tyrese Maxey took that leap without James Harden. Jalen Williams, really underrated player. I love his game and their confidence, man. It's just been through the roof, and the vibes are good for them. And good for them for winning. I love OKC, even as a Timberwolves fan, that little rivalry thing we got going on. With that being said, Clippers Mavericks. It's been a weird series, like the Cavs Magic. Luka Doncic, not the best playoff series we have seen from him. Kind of lackluster, expecting him to step up sooner rather than later. Kyrie's been amazing in that game 4, I believe. Yep. When they were down 31 points, came all the way back to take the lead. And it looked like the Mavs were just going to pull away and win the game. But James Harden down the stretch, Paul George with that step back 3, man. I love to see these shot making. It was a great game. Clippers 2-0 without Kawhi because he didn't play game 1. James Harden stepped up huge in that game. And then this last game, James Harden, Paul George, just been playing great. Zubac in game 1 was amazing. But then games 2, 3, Mavs just locked in. Kyrie's been doing his thing. And Luka Doncic, even in his off games like game 4, still had a triple-double, 29 points. Something like that. But it was – you just need more efficiency from him. I believe he shot 1 of 9 from 3 last game. That just can't happen against this Clippers team, because this Clippers team – the series is going to come down to a 3-point variance. Clippers, games 1 and 4, shot the ball really well. They won those games. Games 2 and 3 did not shoot the ball great, especially I remember game 2 was just awful. Game 3, they started off good, really slowed down. Mavericks kind of blew them out as the game progressed. And I think Kawhi, they're going to take it easy with him. He did not look the same in those games 2 and 3, because he was just missing easy shots he typically gets. Defense didn't look quite as good. It has to be expected. I believe he was rushed back. Clippers are going to play it smart. You still have home court advantage right now. Game 5 back in Los Angeles tomorrow. It's going to be a great series. I think it could go the distance. I'm still leaning with the Mavs, though, because I think Luka will have one of these breakout games, 40-plus points. Kyrie, the way he's been playing, has been amazing. And if I'm the Mavs, just the only reason I'd be concerned is this head coach matchup. Tyronn Lue's coach circles around Jason Kidd this series. If I'm Jason Kidd and I have Luka Doncic on James Harden, why? Like, why is that happening? James Harden was just getting to the rim, hitting floater after floater in the clutch. Huge blown opportunity for the Mavs to defend home court and go up 3-1 and essentially end the series. But Clippers, Paul George, step back 3, like I talked about, that was so huge to give them the lead back. And this series has been awesome. I like both teams, but I'll still stick with the Mavs in the series, and it should be an interesting game 5, whether Kawhi does or doesn't play. But I assume he won't, because he looked rushed back and did not look the same. And honestly, they're 0-2 with him on the court, so he hasn't even, with his injury, he hasn't been a help to them, despite trying to play through it. And then series, I mean, I was most happy about as a Timberwolves fan. I expected us to win in like 6 or 7. I did not expect a sweep, but man, Timberwolves played great. Jay McDaniels was just locks on Bradley Booker and Bradley Beal and Devin Booker this playoff series. And KD, did his thing, but didn't really get up a lot of shots. He did his thing in game 1. Game 4 played great. Shout out to Devin Booker in elimination game, 49 points, but it just wasn't enough. Anthony Edwards, man, just the shots he makes in the playoffs and the way he plays, man, really Michael Jordan-esque. I know there's comparisons. At only 22 being able to do this, he played so well. Chris Finch really managed Karl Anthony Towns minutes well. He had the assignment of guarding KD a good part of the series, and was just trying to get a hand in his face, because KD at his age still a great shot maker, but you can't blow by you. So have a 7-footer just get in his face, really smart, because he's going to make those regardless, and you're going to have to live with it. Don't waste Jay McDaniels' energy on Devin Booker to get him more flustered, because he can easily be more flustered. Same with Bradley Beal than a KD who will just do his thing no matter who's guarding him. So that was a really smart adjustment. And the season series, Suns won 3-0, all blowouts. One of the huge blows was Grayson Allen, game 1 ankle injury. I think he tried to come back for game 2, but he just wasn't. He re-injured it, and it sucks because really could have made an impact on the series. He was making an impact on the minutes he did play, but he just, the ankles, you can't mess with it, and it sucks to see what happened. But this is more of a credit to the Timberwolves, just what they did. Frank Vogel got outcoached in this series heavily by Chris Finch. And why I picked the Timberwolves was because of their depth. You have Naz Reid, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, who played a huge factor in the series off the bench. You had more adjustments you could make, and I feel like the Timberwolves, like they said, were saving some of those adjustments because they knew this matchup was coming. And they just had more levers to pull in the series than the Suns did. Suns are really top 3 of the big 3. But then after that, it's just their role players, like Grayson Allen, who's a great role player, but then it's like Yusuf Nurkic, Drew Eubanks, Eric Gordon. There's not a lot of leverage you can pull with adjustments-wise. So once they won game 1 in that fashion, in game 2, game 3, all blowouts, you just felt like the series was over after like 1 or 2 games because the Suns just had no adjustments to make with this big 3. And that's the problem with super teams, because what the Warriors did back in 2017 with KD won't work anymore. It just wasn't. It's not a right fit. And it'll be interesting when we do a Suns roster like review season and a preview for next year. They just did not look. That you need depth in this league, and that's what the Timberwolves had to go to, make adjustments, and the Suns didn't have that. And that's the roster when you're having 3 players make $50 million plus a year. And it'll be interesting. The Suns might fire Frank Vogel, I saw. But that's, kind of a scapegoat. I think more to do with the roster than the coaching. But yeah, pleasant surprise for my Timberwolves. I'm excited to face the defending champion Nuggets the next round. I think it should be a great series. But with that being said, speaking of the Nuggets Lakers, I had the pleasure of watching most of these games, and man, last night Lakers gave it their all. In this whole series, the Lakers were the better team for 3 quarters every game. But when it matters most, Murray, Jokic, pick and roll, even when they don't look their best, they just find a way. 2 game winners from Murray, games 2 and yesterday to ice it, man. Just, balls of steel there. Just huge shot making. Nuggets, that's what they do. They haven't played their greatest basketball, but they still find ways to win, and that's the championship DNA in them. Jokic obviously does his thing. Michael Porter Jr. stepped up huge in the series because Jamal, despite the 2 game winners, kind of struggled in games 1 through 4. Efficiency-wise, game 5. Yesterday, huge game, almost 30 points, or if not 30 points. Just game-winning shot, just clutch plays down the stretch. And that's the difference between these 2 teams. Lakers, LeBron gave it his all. Anthony Davis was phenomenal this series, especially on the offensive end, was trying to do his thing. But it was the players around him. D'Lo didn't have the best series, not really that efficient again in a playoff series. And boy, got out of those talks, man. He, can play great in the regular season. Shoots a career high from 3, 47% efficiency. Dips down in the playoffs every time. And for someone making that kind of money, that just can't happen. And, the Lakers, Darvin Ham, I'm not sure what you're doing. Some questionable rotations throughout this series. And I get it, you're injured. Jared Vanderbilt's injured. But just when I watched him, he just doesn't call timeouts. Like, he lets the Nuggets go on like these 10-0 runs and then decides to call a timeout. When I see a lot of coaches that sense the momentum switching, like after 1 or 2 baskets around timeout. And that's smart coaching because you don't want the other team to gain momentum. But Darvin Ham consistently let them play when the Lakers are clearly tired because they're not running out a huge bench. LeBron, 39 years old, and you're just not giving them rest, and you're letting these Nuggets take advantage of that. And I don't know why you're doing that, but it was stupid. Mike Malone just coached better when it mattered most, and that seems like what the Nuggets do all series, and do the Lakers every game, because even last year, even though it was a sweep, Lakers played arguably the better basketball for most of it, but it was down at the end when the Nuggets just clutched up when it mattered. And That's what a championship team does, and it was exciting to see. Just great basketball being played, but it'll lead to huge question marks with the Lakers coming up this offseason, which will be exciting to talk about. Does LeBron retire? What happens with Anthony Davis, D'Angelo Russell? Austin Reeves made some huge baskets down the stretch, but just an interesting spot to go here. Another disappointing season ending for the Lakers after making it to the Western Conference Finals last year, not even winning a game and being so dominant most of the series, but then just not showing up when it mattered most. And more credit to the Nuggets just for always showing up when it matters most in close games, even in the regular season. You know that Murray Jokic pick and roll will always work. It's in one of their two hands, despite them not playing the best basketball. But Them versus the Timberwolves should be an interesting series, and it'll be a great preview to watch as we look forward to that. But with that being said, make sure, like I said before, to like and subscribe if you enjoy this content as we look forward to be going full time this starting next week with consistent uploads. Thank you. Catch you in the next one. Peace.